Hey, what it is, y'all? What is up? What up, though? I be that Sequential Geek. It is the 12th of May, going into the 13th evening of the 12th, 2023 Comic Book Haul 69, part 26. Thank you very much for swinging by. What I got, all right, yeah, is a big old trade paperback haul. That's right. Summer reading haul, essentially, right? Advertisement free. And some of these I've already read. Some of these haven't read yet. So I'm starting off with these. I've already read these. The Authority. This is starting off with Warren Ellis. And then you got Mark Millar. Takes off from issue 13, I believe. And issue 13, that's when Frank Quitely takes over. That's really what brought me in. One of the books that brought me into comics. That's right. I love to preach about New Marvel. That unofficial name, NU Marvel. It's like one word. This Frank Quitely goodness. So the Authority, right? They are the Authority. They're pretty much sick of how the Earth is run, and they want to call the shots. You start off with 3 different types of global threats. The story is initially written by Warren Ellis and art by Brian Hitch. Takes over from the Stormwatch comics, where Midnighter and Apollo first appeared, I believe. This is issues 1 through 8 right here. Yeah, you got your first global threat is this guy. He's from this fictional island off the coast of China, I believe, and him and his 2 other brothers took over the crime running this one island and went global, and he kills his 2 other brothers, builds this whole army of like super Asians, and they just are like these armies of superpowered people that attack cities en masse, and they are weapons of people of mass destruction. So this is like your precursor to the Ultimates. Bam, right there. This is written by Millar and Warren Ellis's artist, Brian Hitch. So it's like you take the artist from the Authority and then the second writer, Mark Millar, brought them together with the Ultimates in 2002. This is the first printing of the Ultimates trade paperback. Fucking love this story. I think I've read this thing 3 times already, outside of just the original comic book issues when they came out. So this collects the first 6 issues. The first 2 volumes of the Ultimates, like the comic book volumes, ran for 13 issues. Both of them are written by Mark Millar and Brian Hitch, and you just have this global presence of these persons of mass destruction. That's what I think they refer to themselves as, or the news refers to themselves as this. So just some really cool concepts that are implemented in modernizing superheroes in general. So these classic concepts from pretty much going on 100 years now. The Authority is gaining some hype, and one thing that I wanted to note is this is why I buy used trade paperbacks ever since around like, was it 2018? I got like Dark Horse's first trade paperback for Black Hammer, and then I got this Image Comics. Okay, so I had to glue this, so the glue's actually... So the bindings come undone way too often when I buy stuff new the past 10, 15 years, and I'm sick of it, so I don't buy new. Even when I tried to re-glue it, it still comes undone. The second volume stayed together when I read it, but even while like trying to hold it in a way that would be maintaining the integrity of the spine, however you want to put it, it's just falling apart. So like I said, back in 2018, ever since then, I don't buy new trade paperbacks, because the one from Dark Horse, same thing, the spine came undone. I had one from Marvel and one from Image, and the spines came undone on those that I had bought all in the same month around like May, June. So it was pretty ridiculous. I returned them all. Got my money back. Okay. All-Star Superman. Frank Quitely is the artist right here. I love it. He's just one of my faves. Keep an eye out for the Americans. It's like this government-funded U.S. Black Ops superhero group that was introduced in the first 2 issues when Frank Quitely and Mark Millar started doing The Authority. Pretty dark take. Oh yeah, and another thing I wanted to mention about this Authority story is Jack Kirby. For any of you guys and gals out there that collect appearances of Jack Kirby, or certain manifestations of him, certain takes of him, this is the guy that killed his 2 brothers, and then he created all these like clones, essentially these superpowered people that he uses to try and take over. He's trying to do his own great reset, destroying all these cities, these major cities, trying to topple the current regimes, the current paradigm, how the world is run. And so now these guys joined together. They had been missing, gone for a while. And then this culminates with, Jenny. What the hell was her last name? It's the power. She's like basically a living entity of electricity, and then she embodies the centuries. So when the 21st century started, she ceased to exist, but then like right at the last moment when they were defending Earth from this alien threat. And there's another threat, because she's from another dimension, that was attacking the Earth, and that was these interdimensional like powers that are running England. And it's sort of like a what if World War I didn't turn out how things originally did. Whatever. So I wasn't too into the first 3 like global threats. They were just, Warren Ellis was establishing the characters, kind of letting you know that they are here to protect the Earth and pretty much lead the Earth, hold certain people accountable for human rights violations and so forth. So that's what The Authority is about. It's like if a superhero group was defending the Earth so much they got to the point where they just wanted to call the shots, hold the bad people in power. That's what I'm saying would make a great story for Thor. If you had Thor versus Earth, essentially, right? Because he's sick and tired of defending these Midgardians that treat cancer instead of cure it, right? That's like with the whole pharmaceuticals companies corrupting governments, and to the effect where it's, he loses Jane Foster. So he loses it and starts bringing the hammer down on corrupt congressmen and pharmaceutical companies. Why not have that be some standalone Thor versus Earth? So here's the Jack Kirby guy, and the deal with this dude is that I guess they had him as part of the United States government, and he had tried to create these plan Bs for saving the world, or saving the Earth in case some type of global threat. And so I think they said something like if he had ended up in another life, he might have been like a great creator of comic book superheroes or something like that. So eventually, instead of this guy, these are the people from the other dimension, from Jenny's dimension, but they were saying how this like Kirby dude, when that's right, so he created the Americans. That's the thing, because these guys are all like evil versions of the Avengers. Like he's like an evil version of Captain America, this dude's an evil version of Iron Man. They all got this olive drab government issued looking clothing. Yeah, they're evil. This guy just killed a whole room of babies because he was looking for the rebirth of Jenny, because she was embodying the new century, the 21st century, so she was reborn. She lives for 100 years. All right, so, yeah, where is this guy? Hold on, let me see if I can find his origin. And then the last threat was the alien threat, and their ship is like this interdimensional being, by the way. I don't know how to explain it. It's like, it's cool, but it's, maybe we need some more far-fetched stuff out there, unless people trying to put the microscope on everything that has to do with continuity, the physics of whatever universe. All right, so here's your Jack Kirby dude. And he has this building that inhabits another dimension, like a different frequency. So it can take up space where there's several buildings are standing. So this guy's like the Hulk, the engineer, this woman who basically becomes a machine. She has these nanobots running through her blood. She drives this guy up into space and then depressurizes his body. That's how she gets rid of him off her back. Pretty brilliant. This guy's like the Vision. All right, I don't want to go through too much, but hold up. I love it how they got this evil incarnation of Jack Kirby, essentially. There he is smoking a cigar. Yeah, there's like an evil version of Thor knocking out Apollo. Yeah, just great too, just lifestyles, the way that Frank Quitely depicts lifestyles, clothing, just like people hanging out. It's one of the things that I really like too, with like when New Mutants by Chris Claremont and was it Bob McLeod, just showing them like hanging out, just being people on top of the whole superhero thing. Those different aspects of that, moments of characterization and being a regular, or how they think they're being a regular person because they're so super powerful or they're so unique because of their powers. Obviously then their whole deal is going to be different for their little everyday innuendos, and that's what can be cool if somebody's creative enough and the artist is cool enough to depict. But I can't find that depiction of Jack Kirby's this twisted version of Jack Kirby, his character. But it doesn't matter. So yeah, he helped the government create these superpowered beings, and they said if he was in a different lifetime, he probably would have been like a comic book creator or something like that. So yeah, evil Jack Kirby. Interestingly enough, they don't kill him at the end. They don't defeat him. They actually ask him to join them. So there's the building that he's in that takes up different frequencies, so it could be in the same different spaces at once. This is one of the teams that he created. They can easily get their ass kicked, apparently, by these guys at least. These guys are pretty powerful, though. The Authority. And just look at the clothing here. You know, we're talking around the year 2000. This came out, I think, at around the year like 1999. The Authority. There was this change that was going on around the turn of the century. This modernization of depicting your classic superhero team. You know, like the guy without any powers, the super powerful Superman-like being, so forth, magic-based, whatever. So they had these new modernizations with the Authority, with the Ultimates, they being essentially, you know, more brilliancy from the other side of the pond. United Kingdom, Warren Ellis, Brian Hitch, the artist, Frank Quitely, Mark Millar. They're all from Great Britain. Let's not forget, though, the American here, John Cassaday. So this is planetary, and it's another type of like global encompassing setting that is just brilliantly done. And the whole deal with this is 4 trade paperbacks altogether. Planetary came out, these original issues, I think this is like the first six issues in each. So we got the first 12 issues here. Around like 1998, you had like the Planetary preview, and then from 1999 onwards, you had the series Planetary. And that ran for, I think, around like 29, 28 issues. The characters in this is like a mystery that takes place throughout decades, and each decade is going to represent like a different era of pulp, adventure, action, that it becomes comic books, that then each era has its team, and each team is going to be, I think, replaced by a different era. It's been a while since I've read this. We have these, once again, different incarnations of iconic classical adventure and sci-fi and monster and horror type of heroes that are being used as plot devices and characters for this mystery that these people are solving. You've got, I think it's Jaquita. She's more like your physical strategist, physical powers, strategists. They're all super intelligent. This guy, Frost, he's replacing one of their team members, as a matter of fact. He can just freeze anything he wants. And then you have the drummer, who is your linguist, coder, computer coder. But pretty general. These guys are going all over the world, and each part of the world is going to represent a certain type of genre that has become classic or iconic of its era, or something that has become, although iconic of its era, timeless. Something that's lasted the test of time, or certain elements have been used as a foundation for these new characters that we're getting into the past 25 years. So, yeah, as you can see, this is, I can't remember the dude's name now, Doc Samson, right? So, the pulp heroes, he had his Fortress of Solitude, Doc Samson. Precursor. Some of those elements were used for Superman. Fantastic Four. We go, oh, cool. I like how they include the planetary covers. All right, so, I mean, even the science fiction banter that they have in some of the later issues about, like, you know, nanotechnology, for example, incorporating concepts of that with magic. Yeah. And just for fun, like Millar and Ellis, they'll do that. They'll take some type of concept and then slap it onto a plot device that has to do with traveling through dimensions or detecting people with powers or whatever. Brilliantly illustrated work, though. Yeah, John Cassaday is your American artist. He stood out for me with Planetary, as well as with the John A. Reber Captain America story that happened around the early 2000s, that new Marvel era where Captain America revealed his identity fighting terrorists. It's a response to 9/11. But yeah, this is great. Turn of the century superhero work that there was just a lot of stuff that was going on that was finally taking the superhero not only out of the whole bankruptcy of the 90s, but just out of the whole restrictions of brand identity. And it wasn't doing it out of like hate. It wasn't doing it out of politics. It really felt like, not everybody, but it just felt like people were taking superheroes, things that are metaphysical and fun, adventurous, to another level, to a 21st century take on it. And then things changed, of course, with 9/11, Patriot Act, and different political things that ended up changing and getting worse every 10 years, essentially. Entertainment has been affected because this era that I'm showing right here, with Planetary and the Ultimates and the Authority, these are comic book stories based on other comic book stories. You know, even though they're modernizing them, they're not basing it off of movies or writing it entirely. You know, they had an idea that when, you know, they wanted to make this cinematic because they figured this is comics. Let's illustrate this as if it was for, you know, a $400 million budget. This cover got me back into comics. This take on Iron Man. He almost looks like a toy, actually. But so much goodness modernizing superheroes that I just obviously love to go off on. The first use of Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury in this baby. Fucking awesome. Without his permission. All right, so yeah, a little mini era of Renaissance. Also around that time, just 100 Bullets, just an amazing story. I love this. It's by Brian Azzarello and Edward Russo. Vertigo. So DC owns this. Warner, what is it? Discovery. 100 Bullets. Lasted 100 issues. You have the, is it Dave Johnson doing the covers for all 100 issues, as well as Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Russo. Russo's artwork is amazing. I love all the use of silhouettes, the whole noirish aspect of his work. But just once again, this came out around the same time as those comics, and one of the cool things about this is just people's clothing, the depiction of just expressions, clothing, attitudes, dialects, slang, accents, just more realistic depiction of how people live and what people do. Taking Once again, in my opinion, it was just more frequent exposure to taking comics to another level. It's more in that sense of modernizing things, bringing things up to speed to how people act and dress. Hope I'm explaining this okay. But this was great. So you have these 13 crime families that are running the world, and then you have these like Minutemen that are kind of like sleeper cells that you can wake them up with a word, Croatoa, and they're used as like hitmen to keep the other families in line. And this guy Graves used to run them, but he kept some hidden sleeper soldiers. These people are like super powerful in the sense that like all the training they've had, and they're very skilled and lots of know-how, but he's trying to gain new soldiers as well as wake up old ones for his own plans, his own army. He's doing it covertly. It's one of the aspects that, once again, they don't tell you everything up front. You find that out by like issue 40, something like that. But yeah, great summer reading. I can't wait to get back into this. 100 Bullets, Azzarello, Eduardo Risso, turn of the century goodness. And I'm reading You Promised Me Darkness. I showed the first issue. I think it was like the second printing, a cover. This had so many covers. I'm going to go into that in my next haul, but as you can tell, I was going to do like a review on this, but just real quick, this came out just recently last year, I think 2022. This is the trade paperback, and it's awesome. It's written and drawn by Damian Connolly. I believe he's from Portugal, but I'm not sure on that. Black and white comic. It's so fucking cool. It's 5 issues from Behemoth. I think there's a second volume that just came out, as a matter of fact. And it's just so fucking cool. I loved reading this. Why did I like this? One, it's just so non-conventional. Not non-conventional. I mean, this is more like in the sense of like how these guys were not being conventional. And I'm not saying that every comic should be going in this direction, but it was just fun seeing more of like a modernized take on superheroes, because not everything is explained up front. That's another thing that I liked about this. And styles of clothing I thought was cool. That modernized kind of take. That's another thing I like. Or even like period pieces where they pay attention to the details of clothing, making sure that things stick with certain consistencies and of whatever era they're depicting that flashback in or that comic in. So this is about visions. This takes this woman, Diversa. She got her powers from every time Halley's Comet passes by the Earth, every 75 years. And so I think around 1910, 1920, her group got some powers. And this guy, Sage, that's talking, he runs this place called a refuge, and he looks like an alien. These are the original people that got powers from the comet. I love like the old-timey feel of this image. But I don't want to go too much about this. You got the evil guy in here who absorbs people's auras, because that's what the comic gives certain people, these auras that give them powers. And you have a brother and sister. And this brother, they're both foster brother and sister. And I'll get into this later, but it's just so much. It's so much fun. This guy got powers to create fire. She can kind of control people. How do I put it? Control people's thoughts, in the sense that she can empathize with their feelings and influence their feelings by showing them their greatest fears or desires. And this dude, Sebastian, she was promising her foster brother, I'll promise you darkness, because he can set stuff on fire, but he can't control it. Sage, this alien-looking guy, the protagonist that is running the refuge, eventually brings them in for a minute and helps them out. But you've got the evil guy. Right, so the evil protagonist is here. Armando Kincaid. Preacher of the local satanic progressive church. She was talking about Armando Kincaid, son of Antonio Kincaid. So this guy, Armando, he's a preacher of the satanic church. The guy that has these powers, he's able to absorb people's auras. This dude right here. He calls himself the anti-everything. Takes his mask off, this gas mask off, but he can't just take it off. And that's one of the things that I love about this, is that they don't explain everything in this comic, but things are not done half-ass or just out of the blue. They don't feel like it's random. There is some thought behind these characters, but they make a reference here of this one team. They look like villains, but they're actually a superhero team. That's one of the cool things about this. They're called the Weird Eight. Some of them got killed. Hansel and Gretel. I think Hansel got taken by him, and this dude absorbs people's auras, and when he absorbs enough of them, he becomes super strong, and he can turn people into these like zombies. Yeah. This is Sage. This is the good guy that runs the refuge. He looks like an alien. This kid, Billy, he can telekinetic, but he has visions. A lot of people have visions. Diversa has a vision. She's from the first wave when the comet came by, and she has a vision that the city Colosimo is going to be blown up. And it has to do with the anti-everything absorbing too many auras, I think, or him absorbing the aura of that one kid, Sebastian, who can create and control fire. So Diversa has a vision, Sage is having a vision, and he is able to have powers every 10 years, ever since the comet from 100 years ago, when Halley's comet came by. And then when it came by in 86, you had some other people that were created, like this dude here, and the Weird Eight, and yeah, the anti-everything. These are the zombies. He prefers to turn lawyers into zombies. It's another thing, too, is that they're not very conventional, right? Yeah, she's got, this is one of the people that were having a vision. She's like, enough, leave us in peace. And this is now the sister. Like I said, she can control people's emotions and then show people's greatest fears and desires, but then she can also kind of have these visions as well. And he's like, the anti-everything's like, peace? None of that. He's like, I only preach chaos. So the brother and sister are being held up because he found them before they escaped once when they were in a mall, and an abandoned mall, and even the settings are like kind of real. So they're squatting in this abandoned factory, and here's another Ignatia, another one of the members of Sage's crew. He has this refuge where he has like some superpowered beings, and she wears masks, and the people that were members of the Weird Eight wear masks. They don't need to, but they do. This person's evil. Diva. She can control people's emotions. They're staying at the Holy Bowl, right? These evil people. An ironic name they were pointing out. Oh yeah, and then they got this other person here who can control people's minds. She's super evil, but her and Diva hook up. They like hooked up in front of this dude Hercules. They're about to have his aura get eaten by the anti-everything, but they made Hercules watch them have sex first. It's like, okay. He didn't last long. This woman, Cordelia, she has these like tentacles and spider legs that pop out of her and these eyeballs. She's super powerful though. But she didn't take her robe off first, so she had lost her clothes. But I don't know, little things like that they show that are just really cool. This evil person here has this suitcase that when she opens it up, the shit comes out. See, not everything is entirely explained. And then there's certain flashbacks and jumping back and forth through time, because you've got, yeah, that's Cordelia. She turns into that, attacking all the zombies. But it's just brilliant. There she is, turning into it. So fucking cool. But yeah, I'm just going off too much, but it's just a great story. Here's one thing I wanted to mention. So this cat, when I say like non-conventional, it can help teleport people. This was one of the humans that I think in 86 got turned into, or one of the times when the Halley's Comet came by. You know, some people are good, some people are bad. These people in the refuge are good, and they got this cat here that this human got turned into a cat, but it can teleport people by coughing up a hairball, and then the hairball gets so big, people crawl into it, and then it takes them. In this case, took them to the cafeteria over at the refuge that we'll show later, and this girl's like, she's like pissed because she's not wearing any clothes, and they ended up in the cafeteria. She's like, what the hell? All right, so I don't want to give too much away, but this is just, it was fun and a little off the wall, but it was a serious read. It's a good time. You Promised Me Darkness. different take on people with superpowers. Pride. This is a hardcover. Vertigo again. Brian K. Vaughan, art by Nico Henriksen. And there's an oversized edition of this. So if you're really into the whole collector's aspect of this one shot, I would say go for the oversized. I just got the hardcover because I know I'm going to be keeping this, reading this a few times. And then there's a Brian K. Vaughan, right? Runaways Saga. I don't know much about Nico Henriksen. So this is about when I don't know, what is that, Desert Storm then, 2003, when Baghdad got attacked by the United States, went in, and all the museums were getting looted, and things like, just everything was out of control. Zoos were not being tended, and animals were set free in real life. There was a story on the news about a group of lions that were spotted roaming throughout the city of Baghdad. So now this is the anthropomorphic take, the Brian K. Vaughan's take on these animals. They move. They just a regular story. Just they're mortal animals, but they're talking. They're going on a journey. I'm not sure. I haven't read this yet, and I can't wait. The artwork looks beautiful, but you now have this POV of these animals that have been in captivity, going through this city that's being invaded in the Middle East. Yeah, very nice. Looking forward to that. 2006, Vertigo. So 1993 was the original printing of these Max comics, but it's the first volume, 6 issues, art by Sam Keith, story plot Sam Keith, Mesner Loeb's doing some scripting. I love this. It's very unique. Once again, this came out in 93 though, but Sam Keith's take on just people, their body parts, anatomy, posture, clothing. It is realistic. I gotta say, it's definitely, we need more of this type of take on just depicting people. Now, as far as what this person's going through, I don't know if it's real, but this is so much fun. Yeah, check it out. It's going to be some fun reading. I just started reading this one. The Knox, 2003 printing. Sounds good. Can't wait. THETH. Death. Tomorrow Forever. Josh Bear. This is out of 2019. Denver area's Tinto Press. It's a trip, huh? Read this review just a little bit. Death. Tomorrow Forever is an anti-narrative, an artist's journey down the gullet of Saturn devouring his son. Bayer's hardcore coming-of-age fever dream is half heart, half groin, all oblivion. That's part of the review here. It's like, yeah, okay. I mean, you just got to read it, basically. Wow. I can't wait to read this. Check that shit out. Whoa. So, I don't know about depicting how people live every day, but this just looks cool. This just looks different. Wow. So there's some indie goodness right here from the Denver area. Yeah, I showed this comic. There's a separate comic that he has actually called Black Star. All right. Interesting. Tomorrow Forever. Now, Alex Graham, I showed this before. She's from, actually, I think she's from the Denver area, but then she's been living in Seattle, I think, most of her life. And this is the initial, I have another copy of this that isn't banged up. I got it sealed away because there's two printings of this, Dog Biscuits. There's the independent printing, the self-published printing. That's what this one is. And then you got the other one. I think that's either by Kilgore Books or Fantagraphics Books. Maybe it's Kilgore, because I did buy this at Kilgore Books in downtown Denver. It says here it's July 2020. Gussie struggling to keep his Dog Biscuit boutique afloat while a global pandemic rages unchecked. So these people are just going through their life. This is a great story. I've read parts of this. I haven't read this whole thing and completed it yet, but yeah, man, the everyday depictions of how people think and talk and flirt and obsess on each other and guilt trip each other or reward each other, and it's just fucking awesome. It is so much fun. There's some realistic remarks that was really cool that this one person made. There are political opinions in here from both sides, and there is no real, I don't think, beef with anybody. I think this is just her just going through her experiences, meeting people, telling stories about life in the United States, trying to deal with the pandemic. Dog Biscuits was originally a webcomic airing up to 3 times daily, starting on June 17th, 2020, and concluding on January 12th, 2021. Each Instagram episode typically contains 6 panels, 1 page, and as such, the reader may observe an episodic rhythm to each page, where it either ends on a punchline or a cliffhanger. 2021 Dog Biscuits. Self-published edition, January 2021. It's like the first year of the pandemic. That was rad. Social distance. Dude, where is that remark? That one remark. Yeah. This dude's out on a date and he leaves his date because his date says something political that he doesn't like and he ditches him. What is it? Yeah, one of the characters, his mom is a famous celebrity, like an ex-celebrity, or used to be super famous. I forgot the girl's name. All right, what is it? All right, right here he says, yeah, well, all the news stations are owned by Sinclair Corp. About as conservative as it gets. I hate to say it, but it's almost ingenious how conservatism has infiltrated and contaminated the left. Amazing. I love it that she added that in here. Fucking A. Now it seems like contemporary liberals are so puritanical and protective of their wealth, they've invented new, palpable ways of being racist and oppressive. Hell yes. That's just on page 23. This isn't a political book. That was just a remark that was thrown in. Everything else that I've read, I think I'm barely, not even quite 100. Oh no, yeah, I didn't read this. These cops are addicted to crystal meth. They're talking about getting pumped up. So fucked up. These bicycle cops. But this, the guy that owns the Dog Biscuit shop, he's got a crush on this girl. And then she's freaking out because she's realizing she's got a crush on him, but he's like 15 years older than her. Anyway, see how that plays out. Dog Biscuits. Blammo. Issues 1 through 5. Noah Van Sciver, EVS's little brother. Yeah, haven't read this yet. This is, a reprint of the first 5 issues of Blammo, which are really hard to get as far as back issues go. So I got this. And this is from 2021. But I think they were all written like the past 10 years. I don't think it was like some type of monthly thing, blammo. Maybe the past, yeah, maybe they started coming out around 2016, something like that. I'm not sure, but this finally collects them all together under the Kilgore Books label. This used to be both a bookstore and a publishing company, but then the bookstore stayed in Denver and the publishing company moved to the Washington, D.C. area a few years ago. But I did get this at the Kilgore Books shop that still collaborates, obviously, with the publisher, so they got a lot of special stuff that would be more limited at other places. Fortunate enough to find them, like the original printings of these over at Kilgore Books in Denver. Anyway, I'm just flashing images real quick, just giving you an idea, because I haven't read this myself yet. Looks like it's gonna be awesome. Just love different stuff about living, life, people's take on life. We'll see. Of course, in doing so, there's always little innuendos that have to do with, I don't know, politics or motivations, dreams, fantasies. So, all right. Bam, Joe Sacco journalism. Oh, this is going to be a good summer. This is going to be a good summer. Fucking a summer reading. It's a reprinting of some of the great works of Joe Sacco. He's from Oregon. He's a journalist, got a journalism degree, but he's also a great artist. You might have heard of the comic book series he had called Palestine. I think throughout the 90s, Joe Sacco made a name for himself as this sequential journalist. This is the first edition. Metropolitan Edges. Let's see here. Also by Joe Sacco, Palestine, Safe Area Garage, the Notes from a Defeatist, The Fixer, the story of a story from Sarajevo, War's End, Profiles from Bosnia, 1995-96, but I like it. He followed a band throughout Europe, and that was one of his first sequential stories, and it was pretty fucking awesome. It's only rock and roll, like it's I do. Journalism, Joe Sacco. Most of Joe Sacco's stuff is in black and white. I believe this hardcover has stuff in color for the first time. 2012. This happens to be a first edition. All right, Metropolitan Books. So he likes to go where there's trouble, like where there's danger. This is fucking crazy, some of the stuff that is going on here, that he's depicting. Yeah. I've met some journalists that have had some crazy stories. I've met some people that worked for the UN that had to go to sites where bodies were buried. This was a long time ago when I was in Croatia. I've heard some crazy stories. People that were investigated human rights abuses, people with special forces that had to prevent human trafficking in the Balkans. So crazy stories, but that was a long time ago. Gaza. As you can see, I think a lot of his stuff is based off of photographs, but nonetheless, it's not. I wouldn't say this stuff is traced. This is like totally freehand. It's very detailed. Although the clothing and the environment can be detailed, kind of the way he does people's facial expressions. It's still detailed, but it's a little, it's like his own cartoonist style. first found out about Joe Sacco because when I came back from Croatia, as a matter of fact, about a year after, I saw this comic book called Shoba. It's a one-shot, and it took place in, I think it was his contact, Joe Sacco's contact in former Yugoslavia during the war, and just the way they depicted all the clothing and the people's facial expressions and just how the little innuendos of even the remarks that they made down to the details of cigarettes that they smoked. It was just spot on and very nostalgic. So I bought the comic and then got hooked on Joe Sacco, looked up stuff about him, and was just really impressed with the concept of a sequential journalist. He has a story, I think, about Hebron that's in Time magazine. I have a couple of those issues somewhere. It's just one issue of Time magazine. I think 3 pages are done by Joe Sacco, comic book. So this is going to be awesome. All right. He's been all over the world. India. This is going to be awesome right here too, though. Peter Bagg, introduction by R. Crumb. The Buddy Chronicles. Hate ran for 30 issues from 1990 until 1998. The Buddy Chronicles, this compilation of these stories that are by Peter Bagg, written and drawn. I've only read the issues of Hate. Yeah, so Fantagraphics is based out of, they're based out of Seattle, but is this Fantagraphics? The Buddy Chronicles, Quality Paperback Book Club. Okay, so this is okay, right. This is like the Book of the Month Club that they commissioned, like this version from Fantagraphics in 1996. That's right. Quality Paperback Book Club, Book of the Month Club, 1996. And these were originally from 10 years earlier, 1986, 87, okay, up until 1992 and 1994. So you have stories from Hey Buddy, Buddy the Dreamer, the Bradleys. I don't even think this includes issues of Hate, R. Crumb of the 90s. So check out, I mean, even he does his own lettering. And I mean, this totally depicted how I was living in the early 90s, mid 90s. It's hilarious. Can't say it was much to brag about. Just partying, getting along with the roommate, old friends, stuff like that. I know with Hate, I could only read the first 15 issues, and then after that, the remaining 15, 16 to 30, he's like, went back home to New Jersey. Harsh. So a lot of these environments actually kind of do depict certain parts of Seattle. That was really cool. As well as the styles and the mentality at the time, and just like little things that people go through, trying to get laid and partying and stuff like that. Oh man. God damn, it's amazing. Why don't we have more of this today from other artists? Just shows you what a rare talent Peter Bagg is. He did the cover for this Strange Tales. So this collects Megalomaniacal Spider-Man. Peter Bagg did a one-shot, his interpretation of Spider-Man, kind of like a la this type of storytelling with Peter Parker. And then that was in 2002. That was like that new Marvel era, which is awesome. And then in 2009, you had Strange Tales, which ran for 3 issues. And then there was another follow-up, Strange Tales, that ran for another 3 issues, Strange Tales, Roman numeral 2. This collects Megalomaniacal Spider-Man, the 3 issues of Strange Tales, and then also 2010's All Select Comics 70th Anniversary Special. I don't know about that one, but I showed this off before. This is Crabapple, Molly Crabapple. Just different types of independent artists. By the time this came out, I mean, you know, like I said, that new Marvel era ended around 2005, give or take a year. And then you had Ed Brubaker's Captain America later after that. And then you also had the Immortal Iron Fist. David Aja was doing the art for that with, I think, Brubaker and Remender. No, Brubaker and Fraction, I think, were writing Immortal Iron Fist. Anyway, those were like little oases in a desert by then. And it's almost like as a courtesy, we got this Strange Tales that would pop up because Marvel was essentially doing their Age of Heroes and Uber events, and nothing was really resolving. It was just one event leading to another event. And then they slipped in some indie artists to Strange Tales. Yeah, I think by like 2008, Marvel got bought by Disney for $4.5 billion, right? Then there were a bunch of stock options, splits, and so forth. So this just was kind of like given to people as a courtesy. I don't know, they were finishing up whatever with indie artists, and they were commissioned to do some short stories. Here's Stan Sakai doing the Hulk. But yeah, then this came out, but they were really prioritizing more on just Disney and having Disney tell them what to do for their buyout in 2008. So this came out in 2009 and was the first Strange Tales, and then 2010 was the second 3-issue limited series. And that's it. Then it was all downhill from there. Miracle Man, Book 1, A Dream of Flying. Oh yeah, fuck yeah. Miracle Man, Book 2. This is the cover that was used for the recent reprint that was in the poly bag that just came out. The Alex Ross cover. And Volume 3. So here we have a reprinting of the Eclipse Comics Miracle Man story that was initially written by Alan Moore, issues 1 through 16, and then Neil Gaiman took over with art by Buckingham, the interiors, for issues 17 to 24. It ended because Eclipse ended up going out of business by 1994, so there was no 25th issue. That's what everybody's waiting for. Speaking of 25th issue, Miracle Man got started because, you know, the Golden Age stories, the stories that were retroactively turned into false memories. This was done by Alan Moore when he took the Golden Age hero Marvel Man and expounded upon those stories, built upon those stories for Warrior Magazine in the United Kingdom from 1982 to 1984 for the first 21 issues of Warrior Magazine. Warrior Magazine of the United Kingdom was this anthology. Alan Moore's V was part of that anthology. But the first 21 issues included Miracle Man, Marvel Man. Gary Leach was initially doing the artwork, and they had set it up so that this guy, Mickey Moran, Mike Moran, nickname Mickey. So Mickey Moran is this journalist in England. This is what Alan Moore retconned. He didn't know that he was a superpowered being. He didn't know that if he said the word atomic backward, Komoda, he would then turn into Miracle Man, which was originally called Marvel Man. All those memories that he had were initially given to him while he was being experimented on by this super soldier program, essentially, that the British government had. This is what Alan Moore retconned. So all those memories from the Golden Age, were fake, right? I mean, the hero itself was created by Mick Anglo by a British company called L. Miller and Son. And because National Comics or DC Comics gave a cease and desist to Fawcett Comics in the United States because they were printing Captain Marvel and the likeness to Superman, the competitiveness and all that of the publishing companies. So no more Captain Marvel stories, no more Shazam. And L. Miller's Sons in England, well, they needed a 25th issue of Shazam, of Captain Marvel. They're like, where's our 25th issue of Captain Marvel? So they hired Mick Anglo. They said, hey, just make some derivative superhero. I'll have all the other derivatives like Kid Marvel Man, and Kid Marvel Man goes crazy. This later stories that Alan Moore took up because when the British government were experimenting on Mickey Moran, they had him in this state of suspended animation, and he was given these false memories that made him think in this virtual reality that they provided, they had set up for him. They made him think that all those events from the Golden Age actually happened. The only one that really happened was when they tried to blow up Marvel Man with a nuclear bomb. So they managed to have him revert back to human, Mickey Moran, and he forgot who he was. The memories come back. You find out how and why, and the story gets turned into an extreme concept of a superpowered being. Not necessarily people that are going to go take over the world, but somebody that ends up becoming godlike. That's where this story turns into. The first 6 issues of Miracle Man, because when Marvel Man, the Warrior magazine stories got reprinted in the United States by Eclipse Comics, those stories, because the copyright, again, infringement with Marvel Comics in the United States, they had to change the name with Eclipse Comics to Miracle Man. So Marvel Comics got bought by Disney in 2008, and then Disney, I think like a few years later, around 2011, they ended up getting the rights to the name both Miracle Man and Marvel Man. Copyright and trademark rights Disney now has. So they immediately reprinted the Eclipse Comics stories, and then I think Neil Gaiman is going to bring us that 25th issue of Miracle Man that never got published, with Mark Buckingham doing the artwork. Maybe he'll get Dave McKean to do another cover. Transmet, baby. Jeff Duro is doing the covers for these Transmetropolitan books written by Garth Ennis. And Derek Robertson's doing the interior artwork. Very non-conventional story here. This guy's a journalist. Just doing drugs and just an extreme take on life. Grant Morrison was saying this guy was sort of a take on himself and some nihilist tendencies. I'm not sure. I've read some Transmetropolitan comics, but haven't gotten into it. So this is something that I will be delving into. People are into the comic book Blue Book. Check out Trespasser, that comic book about aliens on Earth. Looks like we got some aliens on Earth here. I forgot about that. Really weird. This is kind of like a psychedelic, punk rock, nihilistic take, edgy take on cyberpunk. I don't know. That's my take on this, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. All right. Jeff Darrow. Hell yeah, the Crow Special Edition. This one is printed by G13, Gallery 13. And I don't think there's anything extra added in this, but was it December 1988? Dead World, that comic book on the back of the 10th issue. Right, that was right when Caliber Comics took over Dead World from Arrow Comics. That's the first image of the crow on the back. Let's see if they got it here. No, it's not the same one. And then Caliber Comics, Caliber Presents, January 1989. It's the first appearance of the crow in that anthology, the first issue. Caliber Comics then did a 4-issue limited series. James O'Barr wrote and drew The Crow. And then Tundra reprinted those 4 issues in the first 2 volumes of their Tundra press, The Crow. And then in the 3rd volume, titled Death, they printed the 5th issue. And then everything that was from Tundra Press, so you go Caliber, Tundra, and then you got Kitchen Sink, that then compiled all of it together into a hardcover with some extra added material. And then this is like 2017, I believe, is where this this Crow comic comes from. 2017, October 1st, Gallery 13 hardcover edition. So much to say. What is it? Iggy Pop's body is what he modeled the Crow after, with, I think the face was... doesn't hit me yet. I don't remember the face, who he modeled the face of the Crow after, but it was somebody. I think the flashbacks in the Crow are done in watercolor, if I remember correctly. So yeah, this is going to be some good reading. Shelley, the name of the girlfriend that dies, is named after Mary Shelley from Frankenstein. So throughout the 80s, this book was produced. These comics were produced by James O'Barr, doing the writing and the artwork. Completed by the early 90s. And wow, look at that. Goth sequential in effect. You even have the streets in the background that are actual settings of the Detroit area, which is really cool to see that. Revenge. And then he comes to terms with forgiveness, forgiving himself, essentially. Let's check out the back of this, hey? One owes respect to the living, to the dead. One owes only truth. Nick Cave. I think that's who the face is based off of. Some James O'Barr paintings. Shelley in the background. There's the first 4 issues. The Crow from Caliber Comics, issues 1 and 2. 3 and 4. Yeah, James O'Barr relocated to Texas. Haven't read this yet. 2015, Lady Killer. Some Dark Horse Comics goodness. Joelle Jones is such a talent. She's She's also a fox. If you've seen any interviews with her, seems pretty cool. Written and drawn by Joelle Jones. Period piece of an assassin, this woman in the 60s, I believe. Awesome artwork. Fucking action. Hello. Sorry for the glare. Just noticed that. Dark Horse Comics. It's the original printing. The original printing of this is like a maroon border, I believe. Such a great story. Born Again by Frank Miller. Art by Dave Mazzucchelli. This is the 9th printing out of 2022. Originally, these comic stories were from 1985-86. Daredevil, Born Again. We had the introduction to Nuke. And he loses everything. The Kingpin breaks him down. Frank Miller deconstructs Daredevil. We're introduced to his mother as a nun. Bad man. You a bad man. This dude. It's like, oh yeah. Do some lifts here. Whoa. Down and out. Karen Page giving up the ID of Daredevil for a fix. Harsh. Yet exciting. Exciting. Check it out. Nuke. He's sent by the Kingpin to kill Daredevil, and then I liked how Captain America was like taking a point of view towards Nuke, like looking out for one of his own, like a fallen soldier. I haven't read this in a while, but I like that honorable take of dealing with a villain, certain villains. There's so much trying to turn villains into good guys or anti-heroes the past 10 years to a ridiculous level. Feels forced, but this instance from like 1985, we're talking like 10 years after the Vietnam War, pretty much. 85, 86. So I don't know, maybe Platoon came out around the same time for all I know, but just thought that was a cool take on this guy who was basically pumped with drugs, different types of like pills, red, white, and blue pills. This dude, just kind of ahead of its time too, for depicting this kind of real life or modern aspect of a superhero, superpowered being. Anyway, there's the Gladiator for you. Not sure who's doing the artwork here. Looks like it's changed up a little bit. No, it's back to Mazzucchelli. Artwork. Old Man Logan. I love this story. This was another one, like post New Marvel era, that little mini renaissance. This was, what did I say? Brubaker's and Epting's Captain America. You got the Immortal Iron Fist, David Aja doing the art. And you got this too. This is Mark Millar, Steve McNiven doing the artwork. Just little oases in the desert while you're watching the rest of Marvel crumble away. And Mark Millar was probably like, get me out of here. This is like the last little piece of success Mark Millar left over at Marvel. But this is great. I've got the 2008 first printing of the hardcover for this. And this collects 66 to 72, an Old Man Logan giant size. We know the story. Look at that. This is awesome. I mean, I loved when Steve McNiven was working on Civil War. So, I mean, you've got just your longtime fans like me that have been collecting since the late 70s. And, you know, it's just cool that with all the ageism that's been going on the past 10 years, to see people that are well over the age of 30 being depicted as heroes. This is kind of cool. Except for her. She's well under the age of 30 and she's no hero. She's badass though. Cool as shit. This, what is this, Peter Parker's granddaughter? Oh, man. Yeah, just the way he incorporates, oh, man, you know, okay. So it just, everything flowed. Even though, you know, an untalented writer, everything would feel forced. Like, okay, they had to show all these classic heroes, villains, you know, to show where they are. But this just, it's a great story. The illusion. Poor Logan. There he is. Just realized he got duped into killing all the X-Men. Spoiler! There's a train that comes by, and he tries to finish himself off. About a bitch. Look at this kid here. He's got the Ant-Man helmet. He's like, pay my toll, or my ants will take you apart. Oh, the Venom. Venom taking over a T-Rex. How rad is that? That's Black Bolt from the Inhumans. Yep. All right. So much fun. Can't wait to get back into that. Oh, Ground Zero. These are all classics, aren't they? Todd McFarlane. That's right, Todd McFarlane. Hulk. This is from Hulk 340 until 346. So 1988. Piece of Marvel history here. Peter David, author. Todd McFarlane. 340 to 344. Breakdowns 345. Layouts 346. And then he inks 340 to 343. All right. So he drew and inked this issue here. Rad. Tom DeFalco, editor-in-chief at this point. There you go. Look at that. I remember when this came out. I was like, it's getting towards the end of my collecting, spending money on comics, but this is definitely a nice little gem. Is that the leader? This is going to be fun. This is first time Logan versus Grey Hulk, right? And then what, the next time they're seen together is what, Wolverine? And Wolverine is in Madripoor and they show the Madripoor, whatever, patch version of Hulk or some shit. Is it Wolverine 8, 9? No Hero. So there are 3 separate limited series by Warren Ellis that have to do with this No Hero storyline from Avatar. This is the second set of stories. I think it's 8 issues. You have a 0 issue and then 1 through 7. Let's check this out, this description here. No Hero out of 2009 is typically regarded as the second part in Avatar's and Warren Ellis's Superhuman trilogy, dealing with the creation of superheroes. The other 2 books include Black Summer, which also featured art by Juan Jose Rip, and Super God. That limited series features art by Gary Gastomni. In an interview before the release of his first issue of Super God, the 3rd set of comics, Warren Ellis said, Black Summer was about superhumans who were too human. No Hero was about superhumans who were inhuman. And Super God is about superhumans who are no longer human at all, but something else. The 3rd leg of a thematic trilogy. So the Superhuman trilogy, the 3rd part is Super God. It's a different artist as the first 2 parts. No Hero is the middle one right here. And I got this in hardcover because it was on deal. That was my point, showing off that Warren Ellis, the Authority comic where the spine was broken. All these are used. All these are, they might look new, like this, but I bought it on discount. Not only bought these all on discount, but they were like buy 2 get 1 free, or buy 1 get the second one half off, or like 35% off. Just sales. And these are all, this whole stack is from stuff that I've accumulated in like the past 2-3 years that I've been like, oh, I'm gonna read that. Never gotten around to it yet. Some of these I've read, but years ago. But I think, this one came out, okay, so now we're talking like, I wish I would have found out about these when I was leaving comics around 2006. And then I wish I would, like, when I was noticing other stuff, I wish I would have latched onto this. But I gave comics a break for a minute and came back around 2016. My 3rd era of collecting, I think, is kind of coming to a close to a certain extent in some way. But God, look at this artwork. This is, I think this is like government created superheroes that are taking power into their own hands. I mean, you've got Miracle Man, the Marvel Man / Miracle Man stories, initially by Alan Moore and then Neil Gaiman, like I was going off about. It's like a superhero going to an extreme, like godlike level. And you've got the Authority taking over the planet, so to speak, right? You got the Ultimates, that modernization of the Avengers that I showed. And you got Black Summer, No Hero, and the 3rd part, was it Super God? So I love, it'd be nice if I could have like the first part to this, Black Summer. I've collected the comics because I thought the covers were cool, but I like coming in the middle of things. I don't mind getting, the 3rd part to a story, the 3rd trade paperback or something without getting the previous issues. It's totally okay. So No Hero, 2nd part of a 3-part trilogy of story arcs. And yeah, some brilliant stuff, right? Warren Ellis. Superheroes taking on the world. Interesting. And so the rest of these, I just want to go through real quick because, this is the Overstreet Guide to Grading Comics. I showed this off before. I went through this. This is fun. I have to compare this with, I don't know, CGC or something like that one day when I get experienced enough. Random 100 Bullets by, this is volume 7. I'm not sure which issues this collects, but 43 to 49. All right. There are a total of 100 issues, so I love coming into the middle of these. I've read all of these before, but I fucking love Eduardo Risso's artwork and Brian Azzarello's just writing, his scripting, like I said, dialects, accents, slang, just the way he writes in irony a lot too. Certain story arcs, metaphors come full circle. The way he does that, it's pretty sweet. So, some adult literature here, but yeah, rated R content, but still, just a cool story about these 13 families, like a Machiavellian type of story, you could say. This is just bubblegum right here. New Avengers, David Finch doing the art. This is early issues of New Avengers, Secret Allies. First appearance of Ronin, right? Oh my God, who is it? The whole concept when they said Echo was in a bodysuit, I was like, that's stupid. Like, what the fuck? Come on, man. It's just like so misleading then. It just seemed kind of BS. Whatever. They're trying to now build the New Avengers. This Daredevil secretly meeting with, I think, Captain Rogers. Trying to figure out who's a Skrull maybe at this point. This is after the Century storyline. Yeah, we're talking issues like 11, 12, 13. So I guess at this point then, this is a Skrull here. It's hot mama. Spider-Woman. I enjoyed it for the most part. It was really decompressed though, and it just got to the point where shit just didn't feel like it was going anywhere. There was a lot of buildup and not taking me anywhere, so I stopped by issue like 10, 11. The artwork was great. It just was too decompressed for me, but the stories were fun overall, and there was some intrigue to it, but it just... having Wolverine and Spider-Man joining the Avengers, to me, just doesn't float my boat. But that's why I got this for free. Buy two, get one free. Bubblegum for you. Same thing with this guy. This one looks like fun, though. This one looks like a lot more fun. Not trying to deal with any type of Disney buyout or trying to have cross-brand identity recognition with Wolverine and Spider-Man joining a team so that everyone could be aware of them and who's owned by DC or Marvel. This just looks like fun with this Ed McGuinness artwork, and this looks like there's been some elaborate storytelling going on here. This looks like fun. So yeah, this looks like bubblegum action, fun on some classic heroes out of Marvel: Hulk, Namor, Submariner, Doctor Strange. So looking forward to this for sure. Ed McGuinness artwork. DMZ coming into the middle of this, issue 6. I've read the first 4 of these, and I think I tried getting into issue 5. One of these, 4 or 5, Ricardo Burchielli has a hiatus, and that's one of the reasons I stuck with DMZ. I really liked the Brian Wood Burchielli combination. That artist just does a great job about depicting how Manhattan is like this DMZ. It's like a demilitarized zone, so they're not getting help from either side. They're on their own. People have to become self-sufficient. I just thought it was cool. Different factions of different types of people living in Manhattan, trying to create alliances or trying to just make ends meet. This guy's a journalist. He got left behind and decided to stay when he could have got off the island, but just got involved with some of these communities that consider this place home and don't want to leave it. So they're dealing with living in a demilitarized zone, trying to adapt, and just having this new take on living is being depicted here. You know, there's people are, I don't know, I don't think the concept of insurrection and civil war and revolution is anything too dramatic at this point in what's ever left of the United States. So I think this type of genre of showing people like post-Civil War, post-revolution, I think it kind of takes that concept that was catching on 15 years ago, but then got taken over by the whole zombie craze. And that's just the whole, collapse of civilization that was going on when people were saying the oil was running out. I think there was a documentary called Collapse around 2008. And then the subprime mortgage crisis. And then you had the whole thing going on too with the year 2000 and the Mayans with 2012 and just end of the world, end of the world, end of the world. But that concept got taken over by zombies in pop culture. But ultimately, people that are down and out, no electricity, no heat, due to some type of crisis where the world is changing, the platform of the world is changing, and people are trying to get by. And I think that that's more of what I'm getting at. And that can be depicted, that type of genre, in things like Briggs Land and DMZ. And what was that one about California? The Revolution in California from Black Mask. Young Terrorists is another one, but what was that one about California? Cal Exit. So, stuff like that I think are a type of genre that are, what do you want to call it, sleeper hit type of genre. Stuff that you overlook today could become popular, more and more popular later. So, DMZ, check it out. It's in India. It's out of India. Vivek Goel is, he runs Holy Cow Comics and sent this to me because they screwed up on my order. I think I ordered doubles and they only sent me single copies. All the way from India. So they sent him again, then he added this. So I thought that was cool that he corrected the problem and then added this comic that he did the artwork on. Just looks like it involves, Indian deities. Maybe using humans as avatars. Not sure, but some interesting artwork. Like something from the other side of the planet, so I'm definitely psyched to read this. Yeah. Wow. That's cool. I'm always looking to make new friends from other countries, other parts of the world. Send each other some AOKs, whatever works. So if you're watching this from some other country, hit me up. Leave me a comment. Let me know about your channel. Love to meet channels from other countries. But this comic right here looks like an interesting read. Interesting black and white comic out of India. The Skull Rosary. Science fiction, Seven to Eternity. This was part of the first slew of books, I think, when Eric Stevenson was gaining full steam. He got promoted over at Image and just was helping change, improve Image Comics, Image, and the brand. And there was a lot of books that were coming out that were getting a lot of hype. They weren't being optioned for a movie type hype, but it's all good. It felt like there was something new going on with comics around 2015 when this came out. 2016, it felt like there was a little bit some type of growth, something new, ongoing. That's the word, ongoing series. Like Saga came out around the same time as this. So like a mixture of science fiction and magic and the whole concept of something that might challenge Marvel, challenge DC. Well, I don't want to use it as like challenging these. Just look at this Opena artwork. And this series ended. Can't believe it. Seven to Eternity. Beautiful artwork. Rick Remender is the story. Jerome Opena doing the art. Looking forward to checking it out. World building is challenging. You got to admit, with so much competition out there. But that's my point. Like something new that's ongoing. Keyword ongoing. Even if it's every 3 months. Something ongoing. Taking a break for 2-3 years is bullshit. Even if you take a break in between issues for 6-7 months, like these guys do, you know, then you end up canceling your series. And if it was too complicated and too expensive, I mean, what the hell? We've got all these advancements in technology with the internet and computers, but nope, people still can't improve upon art and still have things come out on a regular basis, ongoing. I don't get it. So this artwork really is fantastic, though. Couldn't they collaborate with other people that are failing, that aren't popular enough? I mean, this isn't failure, what they're doing, but not continuing, not publishing any more stories. Couldn't they collaborate with other people that are losing out and then maybe combine issues together in some oversized magazine anthology so they can help keep each other afloat, and provide more alternatives to storytelling at direct market shops, or just, you know, places, brick and mortar places where people can go into and happen upon things. And then you get, in my opinion, I get bombarded with so many advertisements and pop-ups and just BS articles, things that pretend to be, you know, informative when really they're just promotions. So, you know, having something new, something that would keep print medium alive in the United States, I think a magazine anthology, so that stories like this don't have to go out of business. They don't have to shut down, you know. But then maybe I haven't read this yet. Does anybody know, did Seven to Eternity, does Rick Remender and Jerome Pena feel that the story's been told? Just like with Godland. I wish Godland from Joe Casey and Tom Scioli, they said, well, we told everything that we needed to tell with Godland. We went as extreme Jack Kirby as we could. Is that the same thing with Seven to Eternity? They told how many stories as they wanted to tell, and so they're done? Don't know. Let me know. I heard that low. I get mixed reactions from this story. Love the artwork in this. Love it. Another Rick Remender story, also by Image. But just love this artwork. I showed this off in a haul maybe 6 months ago. Just honestly haven't read it yet. Just life has been how it's been, and just, God, look at this. Everything takes place underwater. So it's one of the attractions, that on top of just this illustrations here. Sorry for the glare, but hope that works. See how that turns out. I'm going to have one heck of a summer. I'll tell you that. Thanks a lot for watching. A friend of mine lent me this, Long Halloween. Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale. Nice. So thanks a lot for watching. I'm going to have one heck of a summer delving into this literature. Very cool. A friend of mine gave me this book a few years ago, just before I came out to Denver, and then I lent it and just got it back. So I am looking forward to Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale's Batman, The Long Halloween this summer. All right, then. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Hope you have a safe summer. Thanks for swinging by. Peace.